Hello, and welcome to episode 5 of Concert Recollections from an Aging Rock Fan. This is an ongoing series of short videos after I went up in the loft for the first time in decades and, amongst other things up there, found a box containing a lot of old tour programs I had from the late 1970s, early 1980s, which were my peak concert going years, if you like. Future episodes will be band specific based on those programs, but before that, just a brief video with some general recollections on going to concerts back then. So it was the late 1970s, early 1980s. Times were much simpler back then and much cheaper, certainly in terms of going to see a band. Back then, there were no online booking fees, no outrageous add-on fees in addition to ticket price. Ticket prices would generally be well under £5, and I mean like well under. If you paid a fiver, man, that was expensive. Generally speaking, back then you could buy a ticket, a program, a t-shirt, have a pre and or post gig drink, and have change from a tenner, like £10. And that's including the bus fare into town and back home. You know, a whole night out and seeing a band for under a tenner. Remarkable. Or sometimes less if you didn't bother with a program and a t-shirt. However, my usual was to buy both, and I had a growing collection of tour shirts and programs. The tour shirts long since gone because, well, I'm a bit chunkier than I was back then, as well as a lot older. And, clothes from 50 years ago, it's not really realistic, is it? But said that the programs were still there because I found them in that box. Or back to that tenner, sometimes it might be a little bit more than £10 for that whole night out if we went after the gig for a curry or a kebab, for example. The main local venues in Sheffield for concerts were the Sheffield City Hall, which was the largest, the Top Rank, the Lead Mill, the Limit, and the Lyceum. Sometimes there'd be an occasional foray out of the area to Leeds, Manchester, or Stafford. If we knew a band was due to play and it was one that we fancied going to see, the usual approach to getting a ticket, particularly if it was the City Hall, was to call the box office to find out when tickets were due to go on sale, then go to the box office to select preferred seats from the seating plan, pay by cash or cheque, and walk out with the tickets. Easy. Alternatively, another method was to send in a postal application requesting the required number of tickets and the preferred location, for example, stalls, balcony, etc., together with a cheque and a stamped addressed envelope, and wait for the tickets to arrive. Then, on concert day, get the bus into Sheffield, have a drink, see the band, have a post-gig drink and or some food, and go home. That food would normally be a kebab from a shop called a kebab shop called Chubby's, which was on Cambridge Street, almost across the road from the City Hall. Or there was another one on Norfolk Row. I think it was called Bebek, something like that. If you happen to be from Sheffield and you remember it, let me know in the comments. But I think that's what it was called, Bebek. And then eat the kebab whilst wandering back to the bus stop. Simpler times, eh? Much different from today. As I mentioned in a previous episode, going to see Rush in 1977 was my first concert. Many others followed over the years. Some I can remember, some I can't, and I will talk about any band-specific things based on those programs, some of which you can see in the graphic there in future videos, future episodes. So why not consider subscribing to hear what I can remember from almost 50 years ago. All right, so please do subscribe if you'd like to, and for future episodes. And until then, thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and take care.